Welcome to the Cemoh Fractional Marketing Podcast, the Fractional CMO podcast. I've forgotten what we've called it, something like that. My name is Simon Dell. I am your host. I'm also the CEO of Cemoh. If you want to find out anything about us or any of our fractional chief marketing officers, you can go to cemoh.com. That's spelled CEMOH.com. You can find me on all the social networks. You can email me at simon@cemoh.com. I'm pretty easy to find. So, please come and reach out. If you're interested in finding out more about what we do. If you enjoy this podcast or any of the episodes of this podcast, because there are lots of other episodes of this podcast, please rate and review us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your daily podcast fix. That's pretty much about it today. We are talking firstly, let me welcome to the show I was going to say a friend of mine. I don't know whether we're quite at friend stages, but
we can go with friends. We go way back.
We got way back earlier this year. Kateesha Hembrow. Is it Hembrow or Hembrow?
Hembrow.
Hembrow. Kateesha Hembrow. You are on the Gold Coast. Give us the 30-second Kateesha elevator pitch.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for the introduction. So my name's Kateesha Hembrow and I'm the founder of the BeKnown Academy. I'm a personal branding LinkedIn coach and I've had the honor of coaching hundreds of people across 40 different industries, helping them to do anything from growing their brand to scale their existing business, helping sales professionals to generate more leads, or helping people that are in a 9-to-5 that is sucking the life out of them and they're wanting to escape that and launch their own business and they want to leverage their personal brand to do so.
That was perfect. I didn't time it, but I suspect that was around about 30 seconds. So we'll just... But what we're going to talk about today, because obviously we've got a very sort of narrow focus in what we do at Cemoh, is that we're going to talk about fractional chief marketing officers. So that's people that are operating as consultants or, marketing strategists, but often operating under their own business, under their own brand name and those kind of things. Yeah. And about how to use LinkedIn to grow their profile and essentially win clients or find clients. So you and I have spoken about this before, and for us, we're going to be regurgitating a lot of the conversation.
No, that's cool.
But look, I want to start off by sort of asking you the question: LinkedIn is LinkedIn still as important today as it has been in previous years?
Yes. Short answer, yes. Absolutely. I'm obviously a LinkedIn lady, so it's by far my favorite platform. And I did a post on this the other day, and it's a little bit cheeky to say, but the reason that I love LinkedIn more, I guess, over the other platforms is for a couple of main reasons. One being is the decision makers are on LinkedIn. So if you want to get in front of the serious decision makers that can make calls, that's where you want to be. And the other one is it's where the people with the money are at. Like it's simply like if you want well-paying clients and clients that are just gems to work with, LinkedIn is where they're going to be.
And it's funny because everyone still jokes about LinkedIn. I saw a post the other day saying it was interesting that there isn't really a competitor for LinkedIn out there. Was all other sort of social networks seem to have evolved natural competitors, but LinkedIn is still sort of pretty much on its own.
So probably the only one is maybe X. Like sometimes people, jump between X, but even then, like I personally am not on there. I've just focused primarily on LinkedIn.
Yeah. It's I guess. Yeah, I think I've actually just recently gone back on X for the first time in maybe 2 or 3 years, just after kind of went through a sort of fair amount of turmoil and all those kind of things. So, but yeah, I mean, look, LinkedIn's super important in terms of who's on there. There's lots of questions. I mean, there is lots of questions about how to do LinkedIn better and things like that. But, when you take over a client or when you start working with a client, what sort of what sort of state do you find them in? I mean, there must be some common kind of things that they're doing wrong, or things that they're just not doing at all.
Yeah, really good question. So, look, I would say that people come to me, I guess, varying levels, but I would say from a whole, people are coming to me uh, with a LinkedIn where honestly we need to dust the cobwebs off. So their profile, for instance, might be very bare. Not all the sections are filled out. They're missing really key components, or it's actually just not making sense what they've got on there. It's not very clear as to what it is they do and who they help.
Yeah,
The other thing I would say is they are most of the time too scared to actually post content and do direct outreach and message people on the platform. So I would say from a high level, they're the three main problems, I guess, is their profile optimization, the lack of content, or that maybe they're posting content but they're not getting results from it. And they're
yeah.
not really doing much in terms of building relationships in the messages.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start with the obvious one, the profile one.
Yeah.
I did have to check your profile before I started this, and I'm still. Have you sort of leapt in terms of the numbers that you've got, because I thought we
Yeah.
were pretty close, and now
Yeah.
you've just demolished me in numbers, Kateesha, and yeah.
Yeah, so I've gone on a bit of a journey the last 6 months, and, 6 months ago, if I think about, I think it was about May, April, May, roughly around there, uh, I got a little bit complacent with my content, if I'm gonna be honest, and I was
Right.
having a look
Okay.
at the stats, and I was probably playing it a little bit safe, and I had done about 230,000, like, impressions, and content impressions aren't always, like, the statistics you wanna look at, but just to give
Yeah.
you an idea of what's happened since then. So when I saw that and I realized, okay, like content's dropped off a bit, performance has dropped off a bit, and I lasered in and focused on my LinkedIn. And this has probably been the most polarizing, the loudest, the most opinionated I've been over the last 3 months.
Yeah.
My content's almost at 1.4 million impressions in the last 90 days. So I've quadrupled my number of impressions. And the last couple of months, I've been growing a couple thousand followers every month. So yeah,
Wow.
since we've spoken, it's certainly really ramped up.
Well, I was going to say, because you have 14
And
and
a
a
half
half thousand
thousand.
followers.
Yeah, they'll
I'm just
easily cross over 15 by the end of the month.
I'm just about to tick over 11, and so I'm like,
Yeah, we were neck and neck back
I feel
then.
like I'm drifting behind you now, and I'm like, I'm gonna have
You
to
gotta catch up.
do something about that. That's very upsetting me. But yeah, okay. So so getting that profile right, and I remember when we last spoke, you were really critiquing my profile and telling me all the things that I was doing wrong, and I've
Yes.
probably not gonna fix them all, so I don't,
Okay.
um. So, but the profile is the first step, and again, I know people joke about this, and
Yep.
but it really does pay dividends to get just all those little bits right, doesn't it?
To give you to give you an idea of how important it is, so up until it was about 4 or 5 weeks ago, I've never had a website.
Right.
So when I started my entrepreneurial journey years and years ago with a different business, I invested $40,000 into a website and videography, and I didn't make a single sale.
Wow. Yeah.
And then with LinkedIn over the last couple of years, I said I'm not making that mistake again of getting a website, and I turned my profile into a website, and I funneled over $500,000 through my LinkedIn profile in
Wow.
revenue. Yeah, with no website up until 5
Yeah.
weeks ago. So I'm not sharing that story to gloat. I'm just sharing it to show like how powerful your LinkedIn profile can be if you have it really well set up in
Yeah.
order to bring in revenue, and particularly if you're in early days of business, or maybe you don't have
Yeah.
the cash flow yet to throw $40,000 into a website. You can turn your free LinkedIn profile into one.
So let's also then just touch on the fact that eh, and again, I don't mean this to sound like a criticism when you say $500,000. Um, how have you made money? Because obviously from what I understand, there's a lot of online training and education and things like that. That's how you drive your funnel and how you drive your revenue.
Yeah. So I've got lots of different funnels. So people come in from all different places, but they primarily
Okay.
come through my LinkedIn profile. And yeah, I guess the revenue has come from my academy. So I coach people,
Yeah.
whether that be privately or in a group coaching capacity. I coach them on how to grow their brand and generate leads off the back of their LinkedIn
Yeah.
profile as well. Yeah, and
So,
that's how my
so
revenue.
if I'm a fractional CMO and I'm
Yep,
looking for, I'm looking for those bigger clients, those ones that might be spending, $6,000-7,000 a month, retainers,
yep,
maybe more than that, right? That's going to be a bit of a different funnel. It's not, they're not necessarily
no, same
going
funnel.
to. So okay. So how would you be converting? How would you be converting somebody like that if that was your target market? If you wanted someone on a 12-month retainer spending that kind of cash.
So you're still leveraging your LinkedIn profile as a way to funnel them in, but your sales process might look different. I mean, for me at the moment, I'm going through a bit of a transition phase where I am actually able to make sales without having to get on sales calls with people.
Mm.
I still get on them, but for somebody who's perhaps getting, looking at a market where they're paying them 5, 10, 20 grand a month to work with them, all it is simply getting them onto a booked call from their LinkedIn profile. And you could do that in a couple different ways. It could be, I used to do this, so I used to have a booking link on my LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
And like my clients can invest anywhere from 2 grand to 20, 30 grand to work with
Yeah.
me. So they would just book in through the link, through a Calendly link, and they book in a call. Or you might perhaps send them to your inbox. You might have a call to action on your profile to say, hey, if you'd like to learn more, either send me an email, or I like to deal with it as quickly as possible. And I like when
Yeah.
people actually just message me on LinkedIn, and you might just pop on there, send me a message if you'd like to learn more, and then you qualify them in the inbox, and then you book them on a call.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have this thing in my head, and we can argue this out now because I do like
Okay.
a good argument on a
Good
podcast.
argument.
Right? I love a good. We got one. We're going to do a podcast next week where we're just going to argue for an hour. Um, I'm I'm so looking forward to that.
I'll warm you up
Um,
for it then.
yeah. Sadly, we're going to argue about marketing, whereas I'd rather be arguing about, like, I don't know, politics or aliens or something like that. But anyway,
So funny.
um, my preconception, and this is a
Okay.
preconception, right? Maybe it's a misconception, whatever. Okay, is that the higher ticket people, the ones with the bigger budgets, the CEOs that are hiding behind a desk and a receptionist or VA, PA, whatever,
Yep.
that they're not going to book online through a Calendly link, right? That's my debate topic.
Yep.
You now need to convince me otherwise.
No, and it could be, and it depends on your target market as well as like how you get in front of people. So
Okay.
with maybe the CEO of like Microsoft or BHP, for instance, right? You're not going to get a meeting with the CEO of BHP. Like he's not going to be going, and I'm going to say he because I'm assuming currently the CEO is a man. Um, I'm just trying to think of back in the days when I was there. I was like, is it a man or a woman? But you're right. They're not gonna click onto your profile, and they're not gonna they're not going to book in through a Calendly link. But what you do is you connect with them, so they still see your content and they pop up. And you'd actually still be surprised with how responsive people are in higher, like, roles. Oh, ignore the
Yeah.
balloons. We've got a celebration happening here. People respond if you break the mold and you can stand out. And there's other ways to do it. And I'll never forget, there was somebody that I really admired and I wanted to work with, and we'd connected on LinkedIn, and they'd been seeing my stuff on LinkedIn. They knew who I was, and I sent them a gift to their office.
Right.
It was a bit cheeky, but I sent them a gift. It was a bunch of cupcakes, and I had half of the cupcakes branded with their company
Mm.
logo, and the other half with a photo of a ghost. And I wrote a little message on there, and I said, "Hey, such and such. noticed you're a bit of a ghost on LinkedIn, which I think is a shame because you've got an incredible story and a lot of people you can help. Would you be open to having a chat? Now,
Mm,
this was a very, very busy man, like big company, turning over tens, probably hundreds of millions of dollars.
mm,
That man was on the phone to me within 3 minutes of those cupcakes being delivered.
mm. Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's not necessarily, and you'd be surprised, and again, like that was just a way of me leveraging LinkedIn for them to see
Mm,
me to be top of mind, and then pairing something else on the back end of it. But with if you were just to use LinkedIn, don't be afraid to message people, but you have to think about how can you stand out from the rest,
mm,
because these CEOs or these people in big positions of power are getting peppered with messages. So it's really about, for me, whether it's on LinkedIn or whether it's in real life or somewhere else, how can you break the mold?
mm. I think you've touched on the point that I would probably make to most fractional CMOs is that LinkedIn, it is for you, but it may not be for other people, right? But LinkedIn is part of a marketing strategy. It is, you've managed to build a platform, you've managed to build a business, and a very successful business on the basis of the platform itself, right?
Yeah.
And that's not, and you see a lot of other successful businesses that have built businesses based on the platform. Instagram, has been the birthplace of many good e-commerce businesses. LinkedIn is the birthplace of good coaching businesses and educational businesses and all those kind of things, right? Um, for some people, that being a fractional CMO, LinkedIn is part of a strategy, is
Yeah.
a broader strategy. And in your case, that broader strategy included cupcakes, right?
For that particular
Uh,
person, yeah.
yeah, but so for that particular, but for other fractional CMOs, that what I'm nervous about saying to them, you can have your complete success like Kateesha did,
Yeah.
just using LinkedIn. My preference when I'm sort of saying to these people is that use LinkedIn as part of a broader strategy, and it might be a big part of that broader strategy, but use it as a part of a broader strategy.
And for instance, if for some reason you can't get directly to the CEO, it could be a matter of connecting with people around the CEO as well, like
Mm,
internally within that company. Like,
yeah.
sometimes people are just generally very hard to get a hold of. But I also equally feel that you would be surprised of who you can get in front of when you're bold enough with your strategy.
So let's say cupcakes aside, what are you saying to people what do you say that you feel resonates with people if you're, if we do want to just reach out and say, because I get them all the time, hey, can we jump on a call and stuff like this?
Oh,
And
yeah,
I,
yeah, no way.
and depending on the mood I'm in, I either just delete them or tell them to,
Politely decline.
right, go away. Yes.
Yeah.
Um, but what do you find resonates in those conversations that you have with people on LinkedIn?
For me, it's a couple of things. So it's a combination of, like, I always preach to my clients, give yourself the warmest reason to reach out. And so what I
Okay.
mean by that is leverage what you can to get in front of them. Maybe they viewed your profile, maybe they engaged in your content, maybe you saw they posted a really good piece of content, but use something that will connect with them. And also be human. Even though they're the CEO of BHP, they're still human. And where people go wrong is, one, they typically just do like the hard pitch as soon as they like connect, and it's just like straight into the pitch.
Yeah.
It's just very robotic, and you can tell it's just being copied and pasted, and it's
Mm,
about just being human and connecting with people. And people would also be surprised at, like, even things like how using banter is like an amazing way to like I accidentally called somebody the wrong name in a message last week. Sometimes my LinkedIn glitches out and the inbox shuffles up, and I called him the
yeah.
name of the person above. Anyway, I died. I was like, oh my goodness, this is terrible. Look, I've just called this poor man the wrong name. But I just took it in my stride, and I obviously apologized, and then I made a bit of a joke about it, and we've been like bantering back and forth about it. Um, and then halfway through the conversation, he was like, "Hey, like actually, I need your help with personal branding," and like a whole
Yeah.
conversation came out of that, and it was such a beautiful reminder of. I feel we also really overthink and overcomplicate outreach to
Mm,
people. And it's like, just think about if they were standing there physically in front of you, like, what would you say?
Yeah, my outreach, my sort of opening, you know,
Actually, how I reached out to you. Do you remember
yeah,
what I said to you? I
oh God,
scrolled I
do I?
actually, this is a really good example. I scrolled down your profile because I was looking for some more podcasts to be, interviewed on, and I scrolled right down the bottom, and we had a mutual mate, Dave. Dave's a really good mate of mine, and that was one of the first things I mentioned in the message. I said something like, "Hey, saw Dave, Dave, I'm looking for podcasts to be interviewed on. Would
Oh,
you have
David
anything?"
Neal. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
David
yeah,
Neal. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. But see what I did there? I made a
yeah.
connection, and obviously you responded, and this is the second time
That's
you've
an
interviewed.
interesting look. That's an interesting tactic because I mean, with 11,000 people on I don't know. You know, I probably know 0.1% of the actual
Yeah.
people who are connected to me, but um, yeah, David Neal. I think that works when you see somebody who's made a comment on their profile that because then you know that there's an actual connection there.
But I mean, for
Um,
somebody to leave, like, Dave left you a pretty lovely testimonial. I was like, that's not gonna be some random who doesn't
sorry,
even.
yes, that's where you saw it. Yes, of course. No, you are. Yeah, you're 100% right. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, look, I mean, and I've done that in the past and reached out to people. I've had people call me the wrong name.
Yeah.
And normally I look at that because if it's if it's a formulaic response or it's an opening
Mm.
message, I'm like, well, that's kind of unforgivable, right? You should have
Yeah.
got that one better. If it's a response to a continued conversation, they've just got my name wrong. I can completely understand that. There was one guy who then when I told him he called me the wrong name.
Yeah.
And you say that banter thing. He would turn around and carried on calling me the wrong name. Just
Oh, yeah, this guy gave me a new name as well.
yeah,
I think I'm Rachel now. You know? So
but you're right. I think it's that banter. I think you mentioned really early on about a lot of people are scared, and I think a lot of people are scared. Look, but we're all humans. We're all scared of rejection.
of
Um,
course.
it's a question of how do you openly start a conversation with someone in real life versus how do you openly start a conversation with on LinkedIn? And a lot of people are scared of both. At networking events, people sort of sit in a corner with their drink, hoping nobody will talk to them. Um,
I get
it's
that.
hard. Yeah, look, you and I both have enough personality to be able to. I mean, have those opening conversations.
Yeah.
We're both sort of mentally built in a certain way that we're not shy about opening a conversation.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but a lot of people are scared of that, aren't they?
Oh,
And
absolutely, and this is
how do you coach them to sort of get over that?
it's funny, this is a big theme, at the moment, not even just with my clients, but just with conversations I'm having with people outside around, I guess you could call it maybe that imposter syndrome feeling,
Mm,
right? And just, like, really lacking confidence. And, y often I have people say to me, like, "Oh, you've been really brave and, like, courageous," and it's like, I'm still terrified to do these things, but I just
mm,
show up. And often I'm actually running a masterclass, funny enough, tomorrow around brave branding, but people try and escape this feeling of imposter syndrome. And I actually kind of think, in a way, that's a very entitled mentality, because to me, if you're trying to get away from imposter syndrome, it's like the reason you have it is because you're just about to do something new that you haven't done before. So you're
mm.
lacking the confidence because you don't have the reps. So, how can you expect to feel confident? Like, to me, it's actually very logical. It's like, how can you actually expect to feel confident to post content, to go to the networking event,
Yeah.
to speak on stage when you haven't got the evidence?
Mm,
And for me, I guess, like, where I get my confidence to show up and do all those things has come from the back of doing the reps for years, going
mm.
to the events, years ago, and feeling sick about meeting new people. It's
Yeah.
posting the content and feeling uncomfortable and doing it anyway. And it's a choice. It's a 5-second choice of bravery and courage that you have to make.
It's a quote I've used many, many times in other podcasts and conversations is that, repetition breeds excellence.
And
Um,
breeds confidence as well.
yeah,
Like,
well, okay, yeah. Well, maybe,
that's what
yeah. Actually, it probably
confidence.
breeds confidence first before it breeds excellence. Because I
I would
think
say
for
so.
excellence, you've got to have confidence. I don't think
Absolutely.
you can't skip that
No.
step. You have to be completely confident about what you're doing. So, um, yeah. Look, I 100% agree with you. I think it's just doing the same thing day in, day out, getting better at it. And each time you post and each time you engage or each time you add somebody, you improve what you're doing by 1%,
Oh,
and then,
absolutely. Do you know what I
and
tell
over
my
time, it's a massive difference, isn't it?
I always tell my clients, particularly if they're fresh on LinkedIn, your content is gonna suck. It's
Mm,
gonna suck, and
mm,
it's gonna suck a little more, and then you'll get better, and it's gonna suck a little less, and then
mm-hmm.
you'll get good, and then you'll get great, and it's a process. And I we were laughing about this the other week, and I said to him, I said, You guys need to embrace the suck, like, because it's nobody escapes it. The cringe, like, the cringy feelings and moments
Yeah,
like that is
yeah,
the stepping stone to success.
yeah. Let's talk about some sort of tactical stuff. So, um, number one, you've got to get your profile up to date.
Yeah.
Photos, and anyone that needs a good example, go and look at Kateesha's um site. It's so, I think you are so well branded as you. And for, from the time I've met you in the flesh and we've been on here together, um I think your branding is really well defined, but that branding needs to go through the whole profile, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it also needs to feel authentic as well, because what I would hate is for somebody to get on a call, like a discovery call with me, for instance, and then go, "Oh, like you're nothing like I thought you were from online." Like, to me, like that's a bad thing. That's a mismatch. And not that it happens, but yeah, it's important that you're authentic, you're establishing your authority, and it's really clear around the problems you solve and who you help as well.
Yeah, yeah,
And with
yeah,
and with a lot of when I work with a lot of very intelligent people, and often I find myself saying to them, like, dumb it down, like whether that's their content or some of the language that they use in their about section on their profile, because you just want to make sure that it's really clear to your audience what it is you do. And particularly if you're in like a technical role as well, you just need to be really mindful of that.
yeah. Okay. So, we all getting the profile right, getting the photo right, the banner right, all the sections. I'm not going to go through all the sections because
I've
the
got some
sections.
free training on that if
Okay.
anybody is listening to this and they're they're feeling nervous about the state of their profile, go onto my LinkedIn profile, and in the featured section there's a guide, there's a training to show you
Okay.
exactly what to put in your profile.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, and we'll share that afterwards on the notes
Show
as well,
notes.
because I think
Yeah,
that'd
cool.
be useful. But I don't want to go through every section
No,
because
that's cool.
the sections are there for a reason. Get them filled in properly.
Get
All
them
right.
filled out. Yeah.
Let's talk about content, because we mentioned that a few
Yeah.
times, and I think that's part of the fear, the imposter syndrome fear,
Mhm.
is people are like, what do I post? Or, how do I make comments on other people's posts without seeming cheesy? Um, so those first two questions, and probably a third question for you, is it okay to be argumentative out there? Is it, because that, I mean, I know I am a lot.
I
Yeah.
would say from that argument, y- there's nothing wrong with having like, you actually need to have an opinion,
Yeah.
because if you don't have an opinion, you're going to sound like everybody else and you're going to blend in with the crowd. So I would say, like, having an opinion is important, but you also don't want to be, pardon the French, but like that LinkedIn wanker who is just, being annoying in everyone's comments and just being like really argumentative. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You don't want to do that, but I do highly encourage you to um share your opinion and be respectful about it as well. Like, I've had people disagree with my content, and I've actually commented back and just said, like, thank you so much for being respectful with how you've gone about it, because I appreciate not everybody has obviously the same opinions as mine. Take me back to those first two questions you asked, sorry. was around.
I've forgotten what they were. No,
It was
I've
in the imposter syndrome, which you're doing a great
what are we
job.
talking
But
about? Yeah, I know. I was going to say. Well, see, this is why I don't plan anything, because I have great questions and I can never remember the great questions. Um, but no, I mean we're talking about content, and like
content.
I guess probably the question then I would ask from there is, everybody wants their content to go viral. Everybody wants the LinkedIn algorithm to see
Yeah.
what they're sharing, right? What's the trick there? Are there any tricks, or are we just all kind of crossing our fingers and hoping for the best?
Yeah, look, the LinkedIn algorithm has definitely been doing some weird things over the last 12 to 18 months. My, I guess, like rule of thumb is I honestly don't stress about the algorithm. Like, it can change at the drop of a hat. I focus on who is an ideal client of mine and creating content that's going to be valuable for them. Something that I have personally noticed, particularly over the last 3 months, with me quadrupling my content impressions, is I'm finding my content that's going viral is when people are commenting. Like, I'm getting a lot of comments and they're jumping on quickly and commenting. So I would encourage you, I guess, when you're creating content, to really have a think about your call to engagement at the bottom of the post. So what
Yeah.
question are you going to ask to get people to comment?
Mm.
Because, yeah, the more comments I'm getting on my content, the more viral they go. And virality is not always a great thing as well. Like, I wouldn't tell you to set the intention of trying to go viral. I have clients that start with me with 300 to 500 followers, and they generate a dozen inbound leads within their first month of working with me, and uh, uh, that's just off the back of really good content and not necessarily going viral.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's probably how. I mean, I think you and I had a conversation last time, and I think I still topped you in the fact that I've got the most viral post between the two of us.
Yeah, what was
Um,
it again? How many was it?
just under 1 million. Yeah, because that was it.
Oh, that's right.
That was it. You shared
Chocolate
it
one.
in the hope that we get it over 1 million.
That's right, I did.
And I haven't. Do you know what? I need to go and check that. We'll check that
Go
whilst
check
we're
it and
here.
see.
We'll check
Oh,
that.
the
See,
ticked over.
view analytics. Here we go. Yeah, it was something insane, like almost a million people
And
had.
this is the thing, right? It's like sometimes you also just can't pick what is going to go viral. I had one that got seen by almost 200,000 people a couple of years ago. It was a spare of the moment post that I threw up on a Thursday afternoon,
Yeah,
and it,
yeah.
it
I
just
mean,
blew up.
yeah, mine was a picture of a pizza. It was
Yeah.
insane. Why that went viral was absolutely confusing as hell to me. Um, but I do find pictures do well.
Yes, they do.
There we go. No, you didn't see. You didn't help me, Kateesha. My leading one was 10 months ago. It was the chocolate bars in
I was
Woolworths.
gonna say I thought it was the chocolate bars. When you said the pizza, I
Yeah,
thought to myself, I was like,
the pizza got
okay.
650,000
Well, we know
impressions.
what everybody's favorite now is out
Chocolate
of
and pizza,
chocolate and
yeah.
pizza,
And then
which I would agree.
basically, see, with me, it was anything where I'm picking on a brand that is a loved brand or a well-recognized brand in the Australian market. So Cadbury's, Woolworths, Domino's, Coles, all those kind of things. It was
Mm.
that's where I've seen viral success.
Yeah.
But to your point, that doesn't necessarily turn it
It beats
into.
dollars in the bank
No,
account.
no.
Like, that's the reality of it. I've been very intentional with my content over the last couple months, and it was funny. I I've been doing a lot of storytelling as of recent as well, and I think that's also a really powerful way to gain credibility and trust with your audience. And coincidentally, I had a group coaching call just last week with my guys, and I'd posted a piece of content the week prior, and it was probably one of my most vulnerable and raw posts, if
Yeah,
I'm honest with myself. And it was one that made me quite uncomfortable to share. But anyway, it went viral, and I was just talking through with my clients about how uh like it builds trust and whatnot. And a new member that had just come into the academy that morning turned around and he said, "Oh yeah, that's how you got me." And he laughed, and I said, "Oh, what do you mean?" And he said, "Oh, well, I like he hadn't been following me up until that point, that that post had just come up in his feed, and he's like, I just appreciated like how honest you were, and he said it
Mm,
really resonated with me, and I liked it, and I connected with you, and he said to me, I was talking to another LinkedIn coach literally 2 nights beforehand, and I didn't really vibe with them. And then, yeah, he said, your post came up. He said, we
mm.
connected, we had a quick chat, and he was a client within less than 20 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Look, I think there's a lot of parallels between what you do on LinkedIn versus what you do in your real life in terms of how you market yourself, how you market your business. And you've talked about storytelling, you talked about, being genuine and authentic and all those kind of things. I think for me, and I look at the difference between, I look at David Neal, right? We
Yeah.
both follow David Neal. He's on something insane like what, 50, 60,000.
I think he's closer to 70 now, but yeah, he's got quite a few. Yeah,
70,000 people on LinkedIn. I
yeah,
suspect a large part of his business he gets from LinkedIn, right?
he does.
Um, the thing I find, the difference that I would intrinsically say between him and me
Yeah.
is the word discipline, right?
Mm,
Whenever I see David's posts, he is disciplined in terms of he's within his brand, he's talking about his subject matter,
he's
he's
consistent. He's consistently posting.
consistently there is a level of so consistency, discipline. What I mean, he's ex-army, so he would be,
Yeah,
it's but he's staying within his lane, and he's talking very consistently about things that are close to what he does in business, right?
yeah,
The challenge I have, and this would be my criticism of myself, right, is that I will just go off on tangents about stuff that interests me,
yeah,
right? That isn't necessarily within the same frame of what I should be doing from a fractional CMO perspective.
hmm
Um, uh, how would you, if you were coaching me, if you were trying
I
to
was gonna say I'm
rein
gonna have
me.
to put my coaching hat on
No, no,
here.
no. I'm interested to hear what you would say to me, because I think I have a problem. Kateesha, I have a problem. I'm
Yeah,
that's that. But
yeah,
that's if I was in your group, I'd be standing up going, yeah, last week I talked about chocolate bars, and people would go,
yeah,
well, what the fuck's that got to do with being a fractional CMO? And I'd go,
CMO.
nothing.
Yeah, yeah. So,
It,
so
it's
what I would
it's easy to get distracted, isn't it?
It is easy to get distracted. I think my question, first of all, would be, well, why are you trying to grow your brand? Like that would be my first question is like, what's your intention behind growing your brand?
So,
And
so well, I'll answer that for you.
answer
So,
it for me.
the
Yeah.
purpose of me growing the brand, me stroke Cemoh, whatever it is,
Yeah.
would be to do exactly what you do, is have people come in to me and say, "Hey, I need one of your people to come and help my business out." I
Yeah.
don't, I don't want them asking me for help, right?
Yep. You
Because
wanna
it's not that I don't want to, but
No, that's
that's
fair.
not the structure of the business, not even
Yeah.
in a group setting, right?
hmm
I want them to come and say, I have a problem in my business and I would need someone to come and help me address that problem.
Yeah.
Right. So
Okay,
that
cool.
that would be my objective of growing the brand.
Yeah, okay, cool, cool. So if you're a client of mine and I saw you were posting random shit about chocolate or, just all those do you want me to sugarcoat it or do you want me to give it to you straight?
Look, you've never struck me as the sort of person who's going to sugarcoat it, Kateesha. So, I don't know. You can be as nasty as you like, and
Okay.
yeah.
No,
Good.
if you were a client of mine, I'd tell you to pull your head in. I would say pull your head in. Like, yeah, like, and any of my clients will laugh and back me on this. This is my coaching style. But I would say to you, well, firstly, like, how's that working out for you? Because there's a good chance if you're posting lots of, yeah, you're probably not getting you're probably not getting results from it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I would
yeah.
tell you there's a few things to there, I guess. Like, one is if you're finding you're maybe throwing out content on the fly, I would say to you, well, why aren't you time blocking? Like, why aren't you planning content in advance? Like, what are you doing there? The thing is, Simon, is people have all the excuses in the world, right? Like, all the
Yeah.
excuses. Like, I don't have time. I have ADHD. I have kids. I'm running a business. Like, all the excuses in the world.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, that's cool. It's just not a priority for you then. But then you can't have a bitch about the fact that your business isn't growing and, you're not attracting the right clients and you're losing to competitors because it's like, well, you chose not to take your branding seriously. So for me, it's like you need to work out what are your priorities, because growing your personal brand is a commitment. It's not
Yeah.
something you can half-ass. You can't throw up a piece of content, once maybe every couple of weeks. It's not how it works. But
Mm.
my goodness, are there huge benefits to it if you commit to it and you do it well.
Yeah, I think look, that has always been a challenge for me, and I'd say that use in the fact that I think it's also a challenge for a lot of other people,
I
right?
also just think I think
Go on.
people are lazy, if I'm gonna be honest. I think people are lazy. Even with
Hello.
AI, you see people people reach out to me and have conversations and go like, "Oh, how can I automate this and how can I do this?" And I sit there and I think sometimes there are things that you actually can't automate and you just need to stop being lazy and prioritize it.
Mm,
But the thing is with personal branding, you don't see results overnight. And so that's when people get the shits and they
mm.
throw in the towel.
I think it's the Jerry Seinfeld quote that I'm going to paraphrase, saying there's no point, there's no such thing as an attention span. There is either people want to do something or they don't want
They
to do
don't.
something.
Yep.
Either they want to watch the show or they don't want to watch the show. So,
Yep.
and it's the same with something like this. Either you want to grow your personal brand, and if you
Yep.
do, then you require the discipline and the fortitude
Absolutely.
and the skills to do that, or you don't do it.
Yep. Because it's
As
actually
yet,
not worth it. Like, I've spoken to people where I've turned them away and said, like, "You're not gonna commit to the process. Like, this is gonna be a waste of your time and energy and money and mine. Like, just don't bother. If you're not gonna commit, don't bother."
yeah, I absolutely. I think that's yeah. That I think it's the Yoda quote: "Do or do not. There is no try." That's what we're all. Yeah, but it's the do or do not for when you're talking to Yoda. But the do or do not is over 6 months. It's
Yep.
not you're taking one shot at it and going, I've either got it or I haven't got it.
No,
It
it's every day putting
there
in
is a
effort.
fear. There is a fear that if I spend the next 6 months promoting
Yep.
my personal brand on LinkedIn, I'm going to get to the end
Mhm.
of 6 months and I'm going to see no benefit.
Yep.
And I think probably the core thing the core message, if people take nothing else out of the conversation and listening to you today,
Yep.
I think you are testimony, David Neal is testimony to the fact that if you do invest your time
Absolutely.
and you do have that discipline, you will see results. Is that a
It's
fair statement to be making?
it, it's funny you say this because I was reflecting on this the other day. I've never had a client that put in the work that didn't get results. Like, it's actually impossible. It's if you like it is. You think about it, like, unless there is something so off with their content, with their messaging, like, if you keep showing up regularly online and you're putting out sometimes it's not even amazing content, if I'm really honest. Like, sometimes it's just the consistency of people seeing your face.
Yep.
I've not seen a client win. Like, not win.
I think that the other quote we talked about repetition breeds confidence, but I think consistency beats creativity is the comment that I've
Yeah,
seen so many times,
it does.
and I think this is such an important lesson that so many people are starting to understand now, especially what I've seen. Again, I digress slightly, but in the Brisbane marketplace, we've seen a lot of creative agencies, advertising agencies go under in the last 6 to 9 months. Yes, the industry is changing, and yes, the economy is in a weird place at the moment. But I think most people have gone, I don't necessarily need all the big creative ideas. I just need to be consistently communicating in
Yeah.
an engaging way. And as you say, sometimes not even in an engaging way. Sometimes just
What I
in your
think's gonna
face.
happen what I really see is gonna happen over the next couple years is I could see more and more people using, like, ChatGPT and AI for, like, their branding, and to me, it's just going to make it even easier for people like myself and my clients to stand out
Mm.
and win more, because everyone is going to be so sick of the generic stuff written by computers that if you're actually just authentic and you show up online and you really
Mm.
nail your storytelling, you are going to absolutely crush it over the coming years. Absolutely kill it.
We've gone on for way too long. It's almost been 45 minutes, and I know I promised that I wouldn't say this, but
You're not.
I do need to tell everyone that Kateesha is single. She is
You kill
looking
me.
she is looking for a boyfriend, husband,
Husband.
and she's on the Gold Coast, and I've just about made her go red, the same color
I'm,
as her
I'm
lipstick there.
actually.
Um,
Oh my
there you go.
goodness.
There's the
Slide into
banter.
my DMs. No, don't do
There's
that.
there's the banter after you told me
Uh,
after you've just deconstructed my my attempts at social media and made and told me off. There we go. I get my own back on you
you
there.
got your
So
revenge back. Oh, so funny.
look, you know, I say this. I would make sure that every single one of our consultants watches this 45 minutes and what you've said today. Um, I would also stress that anyone that does want to take this seriously, that does need help, is to reach out to Kateesha and join your academy. Join. How does that work? What do they do, or what do they get as part of that?
Yeah, so look, I've got a couple of different programs. It just really depends on the level of support they're looking for. But I have just recently launched a 90-day Dare to Be Known program. So with that, they get access to all my training and resources. And then we also run a group coaching call on a Wednesday at 11 a.m. as well for them to
Okay.
jump into. And then I give them live feedback. And that can be around anything from profile optimization, your content, right through to your lead gen and sales strategy and processes, because that's really like important as well. I want to make sure that if my clients are generating the leads, we've got a beautiful process and communication happening afterwards to actually sign those clients as well.
Yeah. Okay. Look, everybody get out there, join that. If you want to take LinkedIn seriously and you want to build a business that uses LinkedIn as a cornerstone of your marketing, you definitely need to get involved in what Kateesha's doing. So, look, thank you for being part of this podcast.
Thank you.
No doubt you and I will have more conversations in the future, and you know, maybe in 6 months' time, get you back on the podcast to
Good.
maybe talk about some more. I tell you what might be a good idea is the whole sales navigator thing. I don't think we've
Yep,
not touched on that and how to use that
100%. Yeah,
because
cool.
that is a fantastic tool that I don't think people. I think lots of people don't even know it's there, and I think the other people
Yeah,
that do know it's there just scratch the
don't really
surface of
use it.
what they could be using it for. So
Absolutely.
I think maybe we'll in a couple of months' time we'll do a sort of sales navigator expert, you know,
Yep.
session and talk about that a bit more. But other than that, thank you hugely for today, and
That's okay.
it's
My
been a
pleasure.
pleasure as usual.
No worries. Thank you for having me on.